live right now. It should be on, Don.
All right, so let's get both of you in there.
You have to just do this, Don. Boom. We're not both in.
Yeah.
We're gonna be moving over though. I'm gonna be moving around.
Yeah, let's have you.
I'm going back over there.
We'll move the computer. I just need to frame you.
What is going on, everybody? We are getting ready to start up. We're just getting everything locked in. We're getting ready to launch in 3 minutes. So leave your comments, where you're calling in from, checking in from. Remember to add as many comments, any questions that you have, comments. We have a nice list so far of people that have been already sending stuff in pretty much this morning. We're going to go live at 11 o'clock, so we're just finalizing some of our pieces, some of our tech, and we're going to be started. So keep those questions coming. And we're all about you guys today and gals. So questions you have about your team, questions you have maybe possibly about parents. We're here to answer everything. We have some different videos that we're going to be shooting to show you. We have some templates that we're going to be showing you. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. Joey Bass, first one checked in. Let's go.
What's up, Joey?
Good morning, Coach Josh. Josh Wadsworth. Oh. The Titans. It's a hat day. Oh, man. Look, Joey said, let's see the hair. Joey. Joey's got the first question of the day. How's everything? Everything is going good. Let's go. Do you want me to? So we're all mic'd up, right? So we're mic'd up. How does everything sound? Do you want to go check out the other room and see if everything's good? You did already? All right, cool. All right, awesome. Hey Joey, checking in with you. How's I know what you're coaching an 8U team now, right? How's that working? I think it's 8. I can't remember if it's 8, 9, 7. I always see videos. You're posting up the videos of the little guys out there. It's gonna be weird looking this way and not that way. I'm so used to looking at this. Checking in from Connecticut, 11U coaches. 11U coach. Awesome. We need a good baseball or softball question from Sweden. That's what we need. What kind of question do you have? Coach Johan. Yeah, and what we're gonna do, just so everybody knows, is we're actually gonna try when questions pop up, just like Coach Scott did. We're gonna bring it right to the front so we can go right through and go straight over the the questions like that. I think that's really helpful. So we're gonna wait 2 more minutes, get everybody checking in, and we're really excited to start. We had our pretty much at zone. This is our second week into our winter training. We have pretty much teams starting from 8 years old all the way up to the high school varsity level kids. So we're doing everything the same as you guys right now. As we're inside, it's week 2. We're pretty much building on our different practice plans, and I think we have some really good questions today. So let's hit the ground running right here with this one with Coach Scott. Coach Scott says, "What are your thoughts on launch angle? I'm an old school launch angle and exit velo is very new to me. I was taught a level swing." Well, do you want me to take that one? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah.
So, Coach Scott, I think that is a good question because that word's used a lot. But one of the things we want everybody to know is that every swing has a launch angle, right? So the way in which you swing at the ball, if the ball's here and I swing like this is a launch angle, which is going to create an angle with the ball. if I swing like this is going to create this kind of an angle. So there was always launch angles, but what we try to teach and talk about is trying to hit the bar when you're hitting it during batting practice right off the top bar of the L screen. That's an awesome launch angle. That's going to give you a good solid line drive. That's going to hopefully be a gapper, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're not worried so much about, we're trying to stay off the top of the screen, and we're trying to smoke line drives the best that we can. So yes, exit velo means the harder I swing, the harder I can hit the ball, the better chance I have of getting a hit. But at the end of the day, it's where in which I hit the ball. If I have an 85-mile-an-hour exit velo and I hit nothing but 5 hop ground balls at a shortstop, that's not going to do me any good. Or if I hit a ball with a 50-degree launch and I'm going to go straight up in the air, that's not going to help either. So teaching a level swing is what you want. We don't want to swing down and hit the ball in a downward swing. We want to take our swing, have a nice level swing, and drive through the ball to create good line drives. So I think it's just a matter of how you think of and how you explain what a launch angle is. At the end of the day, like I said, you're trying to hit line drives off the top of the L screen right back up the middle, and that's a good launch angle.
Yeah, and I think Coach Scott, that's a good question because every hitter is going to be different, right? We'll work with kids that aren't even strong enough to hit the ball out of the infield yet, and then you'll have a big first baseman that's going to hit home runs, right? So we see a lot of craziness all the time on the internet of people, teaching every single player to hit and feel the same exact way. But I think really basing your training and your teachings around who that person is, what they can do as a hitter, I think is really important. Every major league hitter feels something different when they're at the plate. They have a different approach. So I think it's our job as coaches to get inside the kid's head, talk about their approach, talk about what they're feeling up there. And like Duke mentioned, we 99% of what we teach here is getting on plane with the pitch, which just means level swing. It's always going to be slightly uphill because we're trying to match the plane to the pitch coming in. But we're thinking just backspin line drives all over the place. I think that's the most important piece. And it's challenging because you see kids watching Aaron Judge on TV, but he's 6'8", 265 pounds. He can miss a ball and it still be a home run. For 99% of the kids that come in here, they're not going to hit 10, 15 home runs a year, right? We have to make sure that we're teaching them, low backspin line drives all over the field.
We got another good question here. Coach Ed Miller says, any advice on starting to build up arm strength for my 11U kids this winter? We train in a smaller building, so we cannot do any long toss. So, Coach, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up right here. I'm going to pull up our throwing program. And it's an 8-minute throwing program, very effective, very helpful. It starts 1 minute, 15 feet apart. Then we go up to 20 to 25. Then we go to 35. We go to 50. We go to 60 to 70. So this is a great way, a great throwing program and warm up that's in all of our courses and all of our classes. But one of the things that we like to do, and Mikey's the head of all of our pitching, is even though we don't have a long distance, you can still throw into a net. You can still throw into a batting cage. And he has different lines on the cage that go up every 5 feet, go up, go up. So maybe the first, your first 1 minute, you're trying to hit the certain, level of string that's on the cage. Now your next 2 minutes, you're aiming a little bit higher. And the higher you throw, so it's almost like simulating a long toss inside a batting cage. So that's a very helpful way. And they're going pretty much full throttle. They're not just tossing the ball to, they're trying to throw it right through it. So this is a really good throwing program, and it's super easy. It's fun, and it just gives you a really good mapped out system in a throwing program.
I think especially at the 11U age too, I was going to touch on the same point about, setting up targets for your kids. But at the 11U age, arm care is also important. So my brother Mike runs the arm care and velocity development class here, and the first couple months of it is all about arm care. It's about core strength. It's about shoulder stability, making sure that we're building the foundation as opposed to just doing a long toss program. We're making sure that we strengthen their core, their shoulders, making sure they're warmed up and stretched properly. Most kids will just go out there, do a couple arm circles, and start a long toss program, but making sure that they're warming up for a purpose, and that's to just get their arms hot, get their bodies hot, This way, by the time they do pick up a baseball and they're ready to throw, you know, they're conditioned and they're ready to do it.
Thanks, Coach Ed. Really good question. So we'll take this off, and now we're going to. This is a good question from Char. She just. This coach says, is that throwing progression the same for softball? Yes, it is. A lot of this stuff, and that's a good question because not everything is going to be baseball and softball, but I would say probably 89 to 90% of the stuff is going to be very similar. So yes, that same exact throwing program for softball would be the same. There was a good question that I saw. Coach Scott said, going off of Coach Scott's question, which another Scott, on launch angle, can you talk about hitting the bottom inside corner pitch and the bat angle when hitting that pitch? So we're talking about that inside corner low ball, and what happens a lot of times is kids will hook that ball, they'll stand up and go this way, and you're talking about how to stay inside the ball. So Coach Steve, do you want me to hold the baseball?
Yeah.
And do you want to maybe either grab whatever you want? There's a bat right there and the PVC pipe, and we'll explain it. We'll show it right now, Coach Scott.
Hopefully you guys can see us. So one thing that I always talk about is hitting through the pitch, right? So that ball is coming in generally from center field. That's the direction that the ball's traveling. So we want to try to keep our bat through every pitch, whether that's up and away, whether it's down and in. But to answer Scott's question about this ball down and in, and I actually used to struggle with this pitch too, because I would get in the habit of getting spinny. And when you hear coaches say spinny, that means, my front side, my front shoulder, my front hip, I start to work tall, and my bat path is actually working around my body this way. So you'll see a lot of kids on a pitch down and in, they're either going to get jammed, or if they do catch it out in front, they're going to hook something foul and almost take the third base coach's head off. So we talk about posture a lot, and what I mean by posture is our butts are going to be back, our chest is going to be forward. So now when I make my move to this pitch, if I stay in my posture, I have all this room for my hands to work. So my hands can work inside the ball, and I'm able to catch this ball out in front. But notice, I'm still working inside the ball, and I'm going to work back through it. If I stay tall, my natural path is going to be around my body. So again, kids will either be late and get jammed, or if they do catch it out in front and they're on time, their bat path and their energy is being created towards third base. They're going to work out and around it. So just pay attention to their posture. Make sure that at contact, their barrel and their shoulders should always be parallel, right? If I'm tall and my bat's down here, that's going to cause a lot of flares up to the right side. If I'm way out in front, I'm working around my body this way. But you'll see a lot of hitters, when they pull balls, whether it's a changeup and they're out in front, or maybe it's a lefty throwing that back foot slider to a righty, if we can stay over the plate and keep our posture, now right here, it might look like my barrel's dragging or my barrel's dropping, but my shoulders are parallel with my barrel here, and that's going to keep that ball going fair as opposed to that path.
Nice. Good. Solid. Coach Steve's always hammering it out with the crushing the hitting conversations. Kansas winter, smaller building. We're gonna go on a question that we had gotten asked earlier this morning. So that question is, what would be your best fast pitch drill for hitters that are swinging late or working on timing? And number two, people that are swinging under the ball and collapsing the back leg. I think that's an interesting question because I think both of them tie together very well. If someone's swinging late and also they're swinging under the ball and collapsing their backside, a lot of times they're not getting ready on time. So when you get ready too late, if you can imagine this, if I'm getting ready too late, all of a sudden the ball's on its way, I freak out, I turn, and everything starts to drop and break down from the back. So now I'm hitting balls foul that way, and I can't get my body behind the ball. So we're going to show you a drill that Coach Steve did, and it's called the 3-base drill. This drill is really good. There's 3 different plates that are being used in this situation, and it's a really good drill. Here it is.
Coaches, we have what's called the 3-plate drill here. Okay, you can see on the ground we've got 3 plates, and they progressively get a little bit closer to that coach doing front toss. This is a great drill to work on timing, to work on our rhythm. And for a lot of our players, you'll see when they face faster pitching, they get rushed and they get jumpy. When they face slower pitching, they can't stay back long enough and they're diving out at the ball. So what Sage is going to do is she's going to start here at this first plate. She's going to take 3 swings. This would simulate either a slow pitcher or a pitcher that's throwing a lot of change-ups. Then she's going to work up to the middle plate and take 3 swings. That would simulate our average pitcher, you know, kind of just average fastballs that we're used to seeing. And then she's going to slide up to the first plate, the furthest one away, the closest one to the pitcher, and it's going to simulate somebody throwing really hard. Now for me as a coach, I'm going to throw the ball or flip the ball at the exact same speed. So nothing's going to change with my flips. It's just going to determine whether or not she's getting loaded on time. So get your stance for me real quick, Sage. Now when Sage gets loaded, you're just going to do your load and freeze. You can see it's nice and controlled. It's just smooth, and she's getting to a good launch position. Now the key is she wants to repeat that load and keep that rhythm regardless of what plate she's at and regardless of how fast the pitcher's throwing. The way we do that is when do we start our load, okay? So do we start when the pitcher first starts moving? Do we wait until that ball's on its way to home plate? Well, it's all gonna determine on the player's windup, the speed of the pitch, and how fast she wants to get going, but we never wanna get rushed. We never wanna get jumpy. We wanna keep that same rhythm, keep that same load and timing, and this is a great drill to simulate that in practice. Right through the middle of the field. Good. One more. Good. Now we're going to slide up. Good. Awesome. So she just did her.
So as you coaches can see, during that, the cool part was, depending on the distance that Coach Steve was, she had to get ready a little bit earlier. The closer she got, the more she had to kind of get herself ready and get ready. So you can do that drill, you know, with smush balls, or if you have a machine, you can have them do the same exact type of setup, but make sure that your players are getting ready, they're in a good launch position, and they're ready to attack the ball, opposed to standing there, waiting until they see it, and then getting ready. So a lot of times that's kind of what happens with having them rush and that sort of thing. So hope you guys enjoyed that drill. This is a good question from Coach Baltimore, based out of New York. Awesome facility. Jordan, thanks for the question. Good morning, Coach Duke and Coach Steve. Can you talk about funneling the baseball versus working through and transferring out in front? Well, that's a good question, because a lot of people talk about those two. And what he means by funneling is funneling the baseball or softball is when you field and your hands do this, opposed to when you work through the ball and it actually is getting ready to bounce, you take your glove and you take your hands go forward, whether it be on a forehand or a backhand, you're actually pushing or pressing through the ball opposed to giving with the ball. So you use both of them. On a short hop, when the ball's going to be a short hop, that's when, if it's on your forehand side, you're going to work through, or on the backhand side, you're going to work through. But if it's rolling on the ground, or it takes a big candy hop, which is that big bounce, now you're going to work through and transfer. If the ball's hugging the ground, my hands are out in front, I'm going to field and make my throw. There's no reason to, on a ball that's rolling on the ground, go catch it. That's like when the ball's thrown and you're playing catch. You don't do this. You receive the ball and you bring it to yourself. So you catch and you bring it in. A ball that's on the ground, we catch, we funnel into our throwing position and throw, opposed to something that we're trying to cover the hop on, which we're working through. Why would we work through? Because when the ball bounces, and you can see a good visual this way, when the ball hits, it's going to bounce. And what you want to do is you want to cover right when the ball hits. You want to be right here to catch the ball so it has nowhere to bounce. The further away I am when it bounces, the more room for error of what's the ball going to do after it hits the ground. So you want to cover through and work through. And we're going to show you a good drill that we have that Coach Steve and I did actually during a time where we were we were outside. We were, it's called the Pick Series.
Hey guys, at home in Duke's garage right now, trying to make the most out of
Go fast forward a little bit, but here we go. It's a small little
position, hips up, chest down, and Duke's just going to toss me, and I'm going to toss right back, short picks, and we're just going to work on our glove work. This is something simple you guys can do in your basement. You can do it outside in the garage or in the driveway, and after you do about 10 or 15 of these, you can turn to the forehand side. So we'll do about 10 to 15 forehand. We're going to kick that right leg out, get nice and low.
Now, if you're noticing this, since these are hops and we're working on short hops, you're seeing us take a small movement or a press forward with the ball. A funnel would be a ball that I rolled to Coach Steve. We would then work on our hands and work on rolling it. Or if it was a big bounce, the long hop that's coming up and down, and we're actually going to field it and bring it right into our throwing position. So that's, that's a good question. Coach Jordan, I hope that we answered the question for you. Do you have anything to add on that? Or
No, the only piece that I would add on funneling the ball, you'll see a lot of younger players, they feel and like they really exaggerate like bringing that ball in, right? And that happens a lot when the player's feet stop. So as long as we have good feet, in most of our infield classes, we talk about our left foot timing, right? And as infielders, what that means is as we field the ball, baseball or softball, we're timing that ball up with our left foot. So our left foot's rolling through as we're fielding that ball. So it'll give like the perception that I'm doing this, but a lot of the times you'll see players that are actually fielding that ball out in front and their body's working towards first base. So they're still working through it. Just be aware, especially for the younger guys and girls, that they're not sitting back and catching that ball too deep back in here. So ball's always going to be out in front of us, and then that funnel move is actually, my hands working towards my chest as my feet are going towards first base.
That's awesome. Keep the questions coming. Like we said, we're here for you. We want to answer your questions, especially while you're on the live with us. So keep on adding the comments, the questions in the comments. So another question we had, I love this one too. Coach Jake from Lehigh Valley, PA. Coach Steve's neck of the woods in Pennsylvania. I have a 12U and 8U team practicing in an 84 by 63 space, which is a big space. Which can be split into 3 cages for 1 hour a week. So he has 2 teams in this space for 1 hour a week. Any drills or practice plans that you can recommend that both teams would enjoy and learn from? So what I actually did was I took a practice plan that I recently did with our team, and from there, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So we did a warm-up. Our team's 11, so we did leads. We did our dynamic warm-up. We did our throwing program. We did base running circuit. If you have a younger team, for the 8U guys, you're not going to work on leads from first or how to dive back to a base, but you might go home to first, how to hit a double, how to slide. And with your older guys, you may work on exactly this. Then from 6:20 to 6:30, we did infield prep step. We worked on our fielding triangle, our line drills. Our outfielders did some quarterback drills. So this is a perfect 30-minute block. So you could take since you only have an hour, you can have, that could be your one team doing all defense. Then from 6:30 to 7, here's different hitting stations, 7 minutes each, mechanics and breakdown, tee work, front toss, and then we finished it up with a game. So doing that, one team can be doing that while the other team is doing defense, and then they can flip-flop. So this was pretty much just one team, but it was an hour practice, but we had the same exact thing. We had the field for 30 minutes, and then we have cages for 30 minutes. So I thought that would really be helpful for you to, to help in doing that. So I'm also going to pop in on here an extra practice plan. So you can see this. This is one of our practice plans that are in the course. You can go to our website, download this for free, and it really helps. It gives you the time on the left. You put in the activity. You put in the coach that's going to run the station, and then you have the area on the right. So these are, again, it's a free practice plan. It'll help you stay organized. You can scribble stuff on here, erase things, move things. But I think this is, something that you guys can use and gals can use to help you, with your practice plan. But be prepared, be organized, because an hour goes by really fast. You want to make sure that your coaches know where they're going, what equipment they're going to be using, what area they have, and really use the practice plan to really map that out.
Yeah, Jake, that's a great question. I don't know if both teams are practicing at the same time. I'm trying to just tell from your question here. But if they are, you can split them up. You know, the 12U team, like Duke mentioned, is doing defense first while the 8U team hits, and then flip-flop. But, you know, in that much space, if the cages are able to roll out and you're able to do some defense, create as many stations as possible. You know, do 10-minute stations. You know, do a 6-station circuit, and practice is going to fly by like that. I think the biggest key is kind of dividing up that space as best as you can. This way the girls keep moving. The last thing you want is, you know, one kid getting their reps while the rest of the team's watching. So just like Duke mentioned, break them up. You know, if you can do 30 and 30, great. If not, and, you know, there's a couple cages and then a turf area, you know, kind of just divide up the space evenly and, you know, do as many possible drills as you can and try to change it up from week to week.
Coach Chris has got a good question. Coach Chris, thanks for the question. Do you have any tips, drills, or talking points for getting 11U players to be more aggressive in the outfield, both with pursuing a fly ball and with making a good hard throw directly to the base instead of always hitting the cutoff? Well, I think where to start with that is, you know, we have a drill where we toss the ball up in the air and we have the kid, we call a number, and that kid has to catch the ball. So we have say a number 1, 2, 3, and you bring them fairly close. We're not talking about in the actual outfield. They're much closer. We say 1, 2, 3. We'll toss the ball, we'll say 3, and we'll toss it up. And that number 3 has to catch the ball. So they go after it. They're going after it hard. They catch it. Then we're yelling 2. Then we're yelling 1. And we kind of go through that to get them to understand, like, this is my ball. Coach said 3, I'm going to get it. Then we'll toss the ball up in between guys, and then they have to be the ones that actually call the ball. But always talk to them about being aggressive. So many kids don't try for the ball because they're afraid they're going to miss it. So instead, they don't even try for it. They'd rather the ball hit the ground next to their foot and not miss the ball. They think that's not missing it, than to try to reach for one and it hit off their glove and now everyone's yelling, oh. So get your kids to be not afraid. Get them to go after the ball. It's okay to miss a ball, but it's not okay to just let the ball hit the ground. So you can take a machine and toss it so it lands in a certain spot and then put a cone all the way over here and say, listen, it goes up, one kid catches. Say, look, guys, we can catch this. You just have to go full speed the entire time. Drop it in. So they see, holy cow, I can catch a lot of these balls, but they need to know mentally that it's okay if they miss the ball, if they try to catch it. Because I think that so often with outfielders, they'll take some really hard steps, then slow down, the ball will hit the ground, they'll pick it up, and then throw it to the cutoff. So I think that starts with us as coaches to get them to be fearless and to get them to not be afraid to miss the ball.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Also talking to the other outfielders about backing them up, right? If there's that little bloop into the outfield and the kid's afraid to dive for it because he doesn't want it to pass him, well, as long as he knows if Duke's playing center and I'm playing right, I can dive for that ball because Coach Duke's backing me up. So talking to them about priority, about positioning, who backs up who in the outfield, and then to answer your question, Chris, about throwing through the cutoff, we do a lot of drills on the stopwatch. We talked about it last week for infielders, but we can do the same thing with a runner on second. Time your runner from second until they get home. So they're rounding third base, and let's just say it's 8 seconds from the time they get from second to home plate. So that player has 8 seconds to get the ball to home plate. So our job as an outfielder is to not just throw it to the cutoff, but to throw it through him. So that cutoff man's out, they're making a big target like this, almost like field goal posts, and our player's trying to throw a laser right through their head, right through the field goal post here, and they want to be able to reach home plate on a line or a long hop. Depending on the player's ability and arm strength, they might have to hit the cut, but just teaching them the proper way, because a lot of kids you'll say, straight through, and they'll start throwing rainbows up in the air, which doesn't help either. So throwing right through the cutoff's head, seeing who's got the arm strength to throw it straight to the base, and then also teaching your infielders, guys, this is a ball that we're going to cut. This is a ball that we have to cut because there's no chance we're going to throw the runner out, or that ball's coming right at my head. It's got some juice on it. I'm going to let it go through. So again, it's communication, it's backing up, and then putting the kids on the stopwatch in practice and trying to make it as game-like as possible to simulate those situations. Look, we don't have time to throw it slow, hit the cutoff man, and then make that relay. If we're close enough and we can make that throw it right through his head, give that catcher a good long one hop.
Awesome. Cool. You got it. You got it. JT Southpaw, do you feel young players using an open hitting stance creates much for them to do versus squaring your feet up and just kind of pretty much just staying square? I think that having a square stance, trying to minimize the movement of trying to figure out where that foot's going. You know, we do have players that start square, that we open up a tiny bit for certain reasons. Maybe it helps them open up their hips more on certain balls. You know, we always make adjustments with individual hitters, but I think that the less movement that you have and the more consistent of a stance you can have, the easier it is. You know, the easier it is to manage that. My son, you know, will start square, and you know he kind of bails out a little bit when he swings. So Steve had a really good drill that we've been doing is we put him on a little balance beam, and it's like, you know, in the beginning he was afraid when he was 8 and 9. He was afraid of getting hit by the ball, and that's what kind of created that habit. But now he's not afraid. It just happens all the time. So we're now on a board on the little balance beam. It's keeping him straight, and now he's totally fine. But sometimes what they've done in the past, just kind of those habits just stay within. You're just breaking those habits. But he was, you know, for 2 years he was afraid, and that's why he did it. Now he's not afraid, but he just keeps on doing it. The balance beam really helped a ton. So, you know, that's something that, again, stances aren't for everybody. Some guys are open, some guys are closed, some guys are regular, some guys leg kick, some guys don't. So I don't think there's one right answer, but I think that the balance beam could really help them.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Balance beam, using the lines, like, you know, we have turf batters boxes in the cages, so using the lines, if the player wants to start open, I just get my phone out and I videotape just their feet and see where they're getting to. If they can repeat the same load, then great, then we don't have to change anything. But, you know, for kids, whether they have a leg kick or they start open, sometimes they'll land in different places in the batter's box, and that's what throws off timing, it throws off the mechanics. You know, the swing starts to break down when we're not on time. So I think the biggest key is, you know, getting these kids to a position where, like Duke said, it's minimal movement. You know, if their timing isn't great, and if they do want to start open, if they do want to have a leg kick or start closed, whatever, as long as they get to that same launch position every time, then there's nothing to worry about.
I really like this one. Another really good question. We have one of the word of the days in practice plans is short memory. So what next pitch? We start talking about overcoming adversity very early and let them know there are things they can control, and there's things that they can't control. And I think that right there, I think Josh was answering or helping with a question prior to that, which was by Coach Jones. And that question was, any suggestions or verbal cues to mentally, you know, going on to the next play or after a bad call or an error? And we use that all the time. We use the word flush it. We used to have a plastic toilet that would actually make a flushing sound, and we had a magnet on it, and we put it right on the fence. And I got that from Skip Burtman back in 1997. He used to make these awesome videos, and our college coach, think about that, you know, we're 19, 20, 21 years old, and we had a small plastic toilet bowl in our dugout, and coach was like, listen, you can be mad all you want for 2 seconds, and you flush it, and you better get your glove and run out on the field. We have to find a way to get rid of that. And Skip Burtman had that, and so I did. When my son turned 12, we brought that back. I went online and went on Amazon, which I can't find anymore, but it was a plastic toilet bowl, and it just flushed. And after a strikeout or an out, a kid would come in, flush it. Usually he would giggle. You'd see the tears go away, and he would giggle instead, and the rest of the team would laugh, and we would just move on really quick. So the word flush it's a really good one, like you're just flushing it away. Or, you know, Brian Kane says, so what next pitch? It's the next pitch that's the most important. The last one's already over. It's the next pitch. Now, being professional athletes, we know it's easier said than done. Like there's times where you, and even being adults, it's easier said than done. Oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's easy to say, but what can you do? And Coach Steve and I try to do a really good job with our team as buddies to do it. If Coach Steve struck out, don't worry, Coach Steve, you got it. Like, your teammates can really quickly be lifters for you and energizers for you. So you kind of got to know what makes that kid tick. Sometimes some guys don't like to be touched or told, don't worry about it. Instead, hey, get him next time. Let's go. Don't, so everyone's a little bit different. So, but I think those are some good key words that you can use with your team at any age. That stuff works for any age. So, Coach Jones, hope that helps. I don't know if you have anything different, Coach Steve.
That was awesome. I think that's important that we teach that message early. That in this game, baseball and softball, you're going to fail a lot. So you have to be able to handle that adversity. And when umpires are going to make bad calls, you might be facing a really good pitcher that day, and you might be striking out a lot. There's things that are out of our control, but the one thing we can control is our attitude, our effort level, and being able, like Duke said, to flush it and move on. I was just watching, you guys probably saw it too, but Tiger Woods and Charlie, his 12-year-old son, were playing in the PGA Tour event a couple weeks ago. And I guess the following weekend, Tiger's son Charlie had a bad event down in Florida. And again, he's 12 years old. He's a kid. And the one guy asked him, I guess, Charlie gets mad sometimes. And he said, Tiger, what do you say to your kid when he gets so frustrated? And he gets mad, and you can see it's affecting him on the course. And he said that he tells his 12-year-old, I don't care what you do in between swings. You can break a club over your knee. You can yell. You can scream. You can get as mad as you want, as long as by the time you take your next shot, it's completely gone. You completely flush it. You move on to the next one, as if that next swing, I think the quote that he said, was more important than breathing itself. So basically just telling his kid, the only thing that matters is your next shot. And, golf, we play golf now, and trust me, there's times we want to throw our clubs too. But it's the same thing as baseball and softball. You fail, you're aggravated, you're mad at the umpire, whatever. It doesn't matter. We got to be able to compete the very next pitch and get ready for that next play. Because if you take it from the dugout onto the field, now it's affecting you defensively. You're leaving your other teammates hanging out to dry. So, Coach Josh, I thought that was an awesome thing that you're teaching your players at an early age.
Coach Steve, Coach Shahan's got one. He says, how do you keep 7 and 8U kids engaged on defense, especially when the hitting team is not putting the ball in play?
That's a tough one. Just the 7, 8U age in general is a tough one. But teaching the kids that there's a game within the game, right? That we don't only have to do something if the ball's hit to us. We're constantly talking on every pitch. Our infielders are always looking in to see what sign the catcher is giving. Always checking in on the coach to see what defensive play are we running next. But we talk about prep stepping every pitch. We talk about talking on every pitch, communicating with our other fielders. Moving around, calling out the outs, calling out the count, calling out the situation. So teaching them the game within the game, so that they're just not out there standing. We've all seen it. The outfielders, the ball's never hit to them at 7U, so they're sitting down, they're picking the grass. So that's a challenging one. But also just, the coaches in the dugout, staying on them, talking to them, throughout the entire game. Hey, the ball's coming to you. What are you doing next? What are you doing on the next play? And just really trying to keep up the communication, because it can get boring. At those ages, you'll see pitchers not be able to throw strikes, 6, 7 walks in a row. It's a merry-go-round on the base pass, and the defense is just standing there for 20 minutes not doing anything. So teach them the game within the game. Teach them how to communicate, how to talk with one another. Our middle infielders are talking on every pitch. Our center fielder is always talking to the right fielder and left fielder on, every single pitch. You're moving my way, I'm moving your way. If the ball's hit to us, where are we going with it? Stuff like that to just keep them engaged throughout the game.
Another thing that you might be able to do, which we did with some of the younger guys, I don't know, 7A might be a little bit too old for that, but oftentimes they're allowed to have a coach on the field still. So we'd have a coach in between pitches or whatever, and he would, mix in some little fly balls to the outfielders, so the outfielders aren't just sitting out there doing nothing. It's like you would just take the ball out of your pocket, you roll the ground ball to the center fielder, you throw it back to you. In between pitches, you're kind of just tossing balls around, the field. That kind of kept them engaged as well. But I'm sure at 8-year-olds, at 8U, you can't do that, but 6 and 7, you still can. You're still out on the field doing your thing. So, but yeah, that's a great answer, Coach Steve. Let's check out this one here. Let's check out this one by Coach Schick. Can you speak on raw talent versus willingness to work and get better? Having trouts for a 12U travel fast pitch team, and I have a couple girls on the fence talent-wise, but want it really bad, and I know they're going to be putting in the work. Hey,
We go through that every year, Adam. Every year at tryouts, there's always those bubble players that will just flat out work, and it goes into our selection process when we're picking our teams. Is what kind of kid is going to be working all winter long? What kid has that that it factor of just wanting it more? They show up early to practice, they stay late, they're constantly asking for advice. The raw talent we always search for, because we always want faster kids, more athletic, stronger. Just that, man, there's something in there. They just need to be polished. So I think the raw piece is huge, but I think that that willingness to work and get better is even more important, because you see so many kids. And I think you're talking about 12U. We deal with it a lot in baseball, and I'm sure it's the same in softball. But in baseball, usually the biggest kid on the field is the best at 12U. They hit the ball the furthest, they throw the hardest. But then little by little, you start to see the smaller guy catch up, because they might be at the bottom tier of the team at 12U, but they start to grow a little bit. They start to get hit puberty. They get stronger. They get taller. They get faster. And this whole time, they've been trying to play catch up to catch that best player on the team. So we take that into account every single year in tryouts. Is the kid's attitude, his makeup, the work ethic, and what we think they're going to do all off season. I don't think there's anything wrong with selecting the team based on raw talent and work ethic.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100% with that one. Let's see I think we had looking for some help with bat speed. We have a young 14UB softball team. Any drills for this? Any drills on helping with bat speed for a 14UB softball team?
I mean, that's a good one. We do some heavy bat stuff. We do some really light bat stuff. We'll hit weighted balls. I think 14U is a safe age to hit some weighted balls. One of my college coaches used to actually have our players hit basketballs on side toss, just to work on being really aggressive through contact. Because, I think players put limits on themselves. And my coach used to tell me is, the home run fence is the biggest limit we put on ourselves. It's like, oh, the fence is 320, so I just need to hit it 325, instead of really trying to be aggressive and hit it 385, right? They're just trying to hit it 325 just to hit it over the fence. So he used to have our players actually hit basketballs in the cage, just to work on really trying to be aggressive and drive it. But I've seen coaches use heavier bats. We have these axe bats. This one's barrel loaded. We have the camwood bat, which is loaded in the handle. It's a really big handle, with a longer barrel, just to work on training with a heavier bat. I've seen coaches use wiffle ball bats just to swing as fast as you possibly can. Wiffle ball bats, they're super light, so you can really get some whip going with that. But, the overload, underload, which would just mean super heavy bat, super light bat. Yep. Hitting heavier baseballs or heavier softballs, hitting basketballs, hitting soccer balls, just training your players to be really aggressive and train their muscles to fire quicker. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of it. I think it's just being safe and not having a 7-year-old try to hit a heavy ball or hit a basketball or a soccer ball, because they're going to end up hurting their wrist. I've seen guys hit big punching bags that they have up on the wall, and kids will just be aggressive and just try to hammer that punching bag. But I think it goes back to just teaching our players to be aggressive and swing as hard as we can, as long as we're under control, and not being afraid to fail. Too many kids go up to home plate and they're just trying to swing just to make contact because they don't want to get out, instead of being really aggressive and trying to drive through the pitch.
Coach James, I coach a 10U team. I want every player to learn about most positions. How do you practice game situations during practice? First of all, I agree that getting your players to understand and play multiple positions is definitely helpful. It gets them to understand where they should be going, where the different players are going. It gives them a perspective of, say you're a shortstop and you take the ball and you're 5 feet away from the second baseman and you fire an overhand ball at him. Well, now when you go to play second base and the shortstop does the same thing, you realize really quick, like, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't throw overhand and I should flip the ball. So I think that when you play multiple positions, it gives you a really good perspective of what happens on the field. I think what we do in our batting practice is, we'll put half of the team in the field, half of the team will bat. They'll get 5 swings off the bat and play the last one live. but they're playing all the balls off the bat. The defense is making the plays on all those swings, and on the last one on the 5th or the 6th ball, they'll then run it out. So the runner's actually running, and we'll kind of shift guys around. Every 3 batters, they'll shift from one position to the next. So they're getting a lot of fairly live game situational type stuff. As the hitters are going through, they're all making plays. We can then say, batter number 3, runners on second the entire time. And now they're all infielders on the right side, or, on the left side of the infield, they're checking 2, going 1. The outfielders are, throwing to third. It all depends on, the age and stuff like that. But that's a good way to work on game situations, is during batting practice of, like I said, the kids aren't taking 12, 15 swings. They're getting 5 good line drives and running out the 6th ball. So it's moving quickly. We're moving guys around, and the kids are getting to see live batted balls from multiple positions.
I think that's awesome, and we probably see it every single year where a kid is frustrated because they say, or their parents say, no, he's a shortstop. He needs to play shortstop. But there's going to be a time and place where a coach is going to tell your kid maybe he's not a shortstop anymore. He's a second baseman, or he's going to get bumped to third. I played short my whole life. I got to college. I played first base my freshman year. I played third the rest. And then when I got to pro ball, I told my coach I could play the outfield just because I was trying to find a spot on the field. So being able to play multiple positions is going to make your player more valuable down the road. They might get to high school and they might say they're a shortstop, but there's a sophomore all-conference shortstop already. So you better be able to play second, or you're just not going to play. So, Coach, I think you're doing a really good job moving kids around, not only to understand the game, but it's also going to add value to them as they get older, being able to understand and play the game in multiple positions. And 100% with Duke on creating those situations in practice. We do situational defense, where the defense will be on the field, and maybe you just have a coach hitting fungos, and there's a team working on base running, right? So, we have half our team working on base running, the other team working on defense, but it puts some pressure on the defense to make those plays in a timely fashion. And it's also teaching our guys how to make hard turns around the base, how to run through the bag, how to slide properly, all depending on the age. But you can set up all different scenarios and situations in practice to, best simulate what's going to happen when the game starts.
So pretty much our time's up. We'd love for you to leave comments. Keep on adding in those questions. That's going to fuel our next week's live. We'll go on the same exact time on Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Keep the questions coming. We hope this helped out. Give us a thumbs up if you liked some of the things that we talked about, the way that we, the format. Always remember, you can go on our website, dominatethediamond.com. You can scroll down. You can pick up the free practice template. Start working on your own practice plans. There's also some lineup cards in there, some field utilization charts, a lot of things that you can use that we have. We also have a 7-day free trial of our membership, which has over 700 videos, practice templates, plans, welcome letter, parent-player codes of conduct, all kinds of stuff for free. Get it all, use it, enjoy everything. So thanks so much. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Coach Steve, Coach Duke at Zone Sports Academy. Go out and dominate the day. Thank you.